Hi, I'm Leapfrog.
Hello, my name is Logan Shaw, and welcome to LogansStory. Today's pop culture history highlight is the Jazz Age in the 1920s. Thank you for coming. Let's get into it.
The 1920s, also known as the Jazz Age, was a time when jazz music became a major part of American culture. Jazz originated in New Orleans and spread to cities like Chicago and New York. Jazz became popular due to its fast beat, improvisational style, and ability to bring people together.
So, one of the biggest hits of swing hits town, and you're actually invited to go into one of these clubs to hear a sound so massive, so estranged, so new, so real. And it's a masterful image of what happens in the 20s in Harlem. Originated in Louisiana, jazz holds true to what music should sound like and should be like, through the improvisation to what a clear-cut sound would sound like if a trumpet were being played in bipartisan of a saxophone, or the drums, or the tune of a flute. Anything in terms of jazz sounds like true music. But true music has a soul. True music has a background. Sometimes jazz speaks to the young at heart. Sometimes jazz speaks to the older generations. What does jazz mean in terms of everything that it is in spite of itself? Well, let's go into detail. So, when you think about the jazz era, the 1920s, in the Harlem and New York, the old souls that come to mind are probably these few people: Duke Ellington, Benny Goodman, Louis Armstrong, and much, much more. Those masters of jazz, with what jazz sounds like, with orchestrating jazz, everything that comes with the phrase making jazz music, is beheld in geniuses that could do just that. But here's the thing. With jazz, it speaks to more than the heart. It speaks stories into what people want to see and hear, and when they go to a jazz club, they want to hear good music. But despite that, they want to be told a story. But what is more than jazz than a person can perceive? What does jazz sound like to an individual? How does an individual see jazz as a constitute for their own life? Well, application, of course. In terms of everything that comes to be, jazz is storytelling music. Jazz tells the story through feeling. Jazz tells the story through understanding. And why this is such a pop culture history highlight is because no other music has been able to do what jazz does. So everyone in the 20s was swinging to it by the 30s. But in the 20s, that's when it was roaring. The roaring of the horns, the rat-a-tat-tat-tat of drums, the slightly fluent timing of the saxophone, and every other instrument that comes to be in meshing of a great jazz orchestration. But when you think about that in terms of everything that you are as a person, jazz speaks to different people in different ways. And what I mean by that is more of a metaphor. It's more of a personification, more of a unlikely object, music, sound, speaking to you as a person. But that can mean different things for different people. To some people, it could be too much. It could be too much to bear in terms of what the orchestration is doing. But to other people, it's truthfully an art form to the eye and the ear, and almost to the taste if you think about it. But when you think about jazz, it meshes in with sound and taste so greatly that even the own individual ear can hear the very different notes that carry jazz into a tune of orchestration. But to you and me, what does this mean? Well, your taste in music matters. The pop culture history highlight in this sense is the sound of a favorite, a sound of music, a sound of great orchestration. And that can mean so many things to you and your taste in music. You could always hear what's true in the music that's being presented. And that's something that's true with us. When you listen to music, are you listening to the very notes that carry over into what makes the music specific? Or are you listening to the storytelling the music is presenting? Thank you for coming to our application. Let's close out. Thank you for coming along the story. Thank you for coming to this pop culture history highlight. There's more highlights in the future, so keep an eye out for those. Also, the mission is 1,000 subscribers. You guys know how to get there, man. The share, like, and subscribe button right under the screen. Also by hitting that bell. Leave a comment if you can too. Thank you again, and peace.